In this video, we're going to discuss overrun combat, which is similar to an assault combat with the exception that it's an armored fighting vehicle, so a unit that has an armor factor driving through a soft target, not into a soft target like you would have in an assault combat, but they must actually have the movement points to enter the hex that the soft target is in, paying one extra movement point for the overrun itself, and enough movement points to land in the hex following the soft target. Now, to perform an overrun, the soft unit is going to have to be in a clear hill type hex like our Russian infantry is here in our example. Also, the target hex cannot contain an improved position, an anti-tank ditch, or wire. It can have none of those in it for the armored fighting vehicle to perform its overrun. There is a bonus for the armored fighting vehicle to actually perform an overrun versus a soft target instead of actually performing an assault combat itself. So in our example, let's say our Tiger here wants to overrun these infantry. So they would pay their movement points one extra for entering the hex itself in the overrun, and then the movement points for landing following it. But their assault factor is going to be tripled for their attack against the infantry. And you would perform it the same way that you would for an assault combat. You would take in total your dice. In our circumstance, this would be 6. You would roll that, total up the amount of hits, but the target unit itself does get to attack back. They would roll their 2 dice, and hits would be distributed at the same time. And just like assault combat, they will be distributed as evenly as possible between the units involved. As with assault combat itself, if the target unit is disrupted when they're overrun, instead of their to hit number being whatever it is naturally, they're going to have to roll a 6 instead. Couple more things when it comes to overrun combat. If the attacking unit itself is to become disrupted or reduced in the process of the overrun, instead of landing on the opposite side of the unit, it's going to retreat back to the hex that it began its attack from. Also, if your armored fighting vehicle has enough movement points to continue to overrun other targets after completing its first target, it is allowed to do so as long as it continues to pay the 1 extra movement point per extra overrun that it does conduct. So in our example, the Tiger itself would take and pay a total of 3 movement points, 1 for the clear hex itself, 1 extra for the overrun, and then 1 for landing in the far clear hex. They would roll 6 dice, total up their amount of hits against their to hit number of 4. Those would be applied to the Russian infantry after the Russian infantry had rolled their 2 dice, also looking for 4s and applying any potential hits to the Tiger tank. If the Tiger takes a disruption or a reduction, it will be retreated back to its original hex. If it does not, it will land opposite of the Russian infantry as long as none of the hexes that it lands in contains an enemy unit.